folks, Will here again with Happily Ever Outdoors. So in this video, our very first in our camp cooking series, we're going to be making up a quick and easy skillet breakfast, one of my personal favorites, and we're going to do it on a brand new stove that I just picked up. So keep watching. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. So today we're just hanging out at a nice little local campground in my area. As you can see, there's still some storm damage. We had that really bad nor'eastern, I think they called it, storm that came through. We got that really heavy snowfall and it just really tore up the woods around where I live. You can see some more over there. Give you guys a little tour. You can see over there as well. So a lot of broken branches and stuff all around. So I made sure I did a good look around before I set my tent up and figured out where we were gonna be cooking so we didn't have something drop on our head. But as I mentioned in this video, we're gonna be cooking up one of my favorite breakfasts. This is something super easy, nothing fancy, but it's really good. You can make a small batch like we're gonna do today for a single person, or you can make it into a big skillet for a large group of people. Either way, real easy, not too expensive, a great little recipe for camping. So check it out. All right, let's see what we got in the old lunchbox. All right guys, this is super easy, super simple. Again, this is a small batch that I'm doing just to cook a single serving. You could go much bigger on this. It's not like super specific, but this just kind of gives you the main idea. So first up, we have 1 full cup of potatoes O'Brien. This is just the stuff you get frozen from the grocery store. You got the diced up potatoes and little bits of peppers and stuff in there. If you want to go fancier on this, you could, bring potatoes and dice them up and have bigger chunks like that. But again, if you're looking for something that's real quick and easy, you can just grab a bag of those potatoes, throw them in your cooler and take them with you. And even if they kind of thaw out, it doesn't really matter. You can still cook them up. These are kind of like half thawed right now, and they're still going to work great. We've also got a half a cup or about half a cup of ground turkey sausage. Now, you could use regular pork sausage. I like pork sausage, but my wife's kind of got us switched over to turkey sausage, a little bit healthier, and all that good stuff. But either way, good to go right here. We've also got 2 eggs and a handful of shredded cheese. Along with that, we've got some salt, some pepper, olive oil, and sriracha. So as I mentioned, working with a brand new stove here. This is one I picked up from Terra Hiker for like 20 bucks on Amazon.com. I hooked it up in the backyard and gassed it up and let it run for a little while just to kind of get a feel for it, make sure it wasn't leaking or doing nothing crazy before we brought it out here. But this is actually going to be my very first time cooking on it, so we'll see how this goes. But so far, this seems to be a pretty cool little stove. It's fairly lightweight. It comes in its little plastic case right there. But the reason I picked up this stove is I was looking for something a little bit bigger than, your canister top type burners. I wanted something a little more substantial. So this seemed like it would fit the bill. So you can see the little legs just pop out. So that gives you like your stand for your pot, which is actually pretty good size. Then you kick the little legs out. And it looks just like this. Pretty crazy, right? Kind of like high tech. Woo! Looks like from one of those alien movies where like it comes out of the machine and, All right, so we got our good old-fashioned isobutane canister readily available at a store near you. And that's just gonna screw on right here. See? Just like that. Too easy. And then that's gonna be your little twist valve right there. And that's what's gonna control the amount of gas going into the stove, which is basically gonna control your heat. It's also got a little ignition switch on there. I believe that's a piezo ignition, if I'm pronouncing that right. So once you gas it up, you're just gonna click that and it'll ignite it. You don't need to use a lighter or anything. All right, let's fire this bad boy up. Whoop, too much. Just give it a little bit of gas to get started. And then, all right, got a little bit of heat there. And then you can just open it up. You can see you open up all the way. The thing will get ripping pretty good. It'll throw a lot of heat out, probably more than what you would need. So start low on it, I think is what we're gonna wanna do. And keep in mind too, with this stove, if you got it up high enough, these legs and stuff, I've noticed, can kind of start to heat up a little bit too. I tried to fold it up too fast when I was first testing it, and I kind of burnt my fingertips a little bit, so just be careful of that. All right, got a brand new pan too we're testing out from GSI Outdoors. Again, throw that on there. And I'll go ahead and add a little bit of olive oil to that. All right, let's get that oil moving around a little bit. So even with the gas on real low, this thing is still heating up fast. So definitely don't crank it up too high and end up scorching your pan or something. All right, so we'll go ahead and start with our potatoes. Because that's the part that I think is gonna take the longest, because we're gonna wanna get them crisped up just a little bit. Got our little spatula. Now, something I can tell you I really like about the stove right off the bat is just the width of that base. When you look at it, this is a 8-inch fry pan, and it sits really stable on there. So super cool, and it's really still not too heavy. So for like something like this, for cooking a meal for one person or even like 2 people would be so easy. All right, let's drop in just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. You could also throw in some like crushed red pepper in there too, something like that if you wanted to. If I was wanting to get real fancy, I'd probably throw in a little bit of, onion powder, maybe some garlic. But that'd pretty much just be whatever you like. But again, this thing definitely heats up quick, so I've got it turned down real low, about as low as it can go, and it'll stay on just a little bit above that. And it seems like it's about right for what I'm doing. It's a little bit windy out here, but even without any kind of a windscreen setup or anything, the stove is actually doing pretty good. Just hear a few little flutters here and there when the wind really picks up, but it's definitely not going out. I mean, I'm sure if it was like super windy, you'd want to have a screen set up to where it was protected, but right now it's doing just fine. Now, depending on how you like your potatoes, that's going to determine probably how, crunchy you're trying to get them. I like them to be a little bit crunchy when it's all said and done, and this is going to be a skillet breakfast, so we're throwing everything in together. So we're going to end up adding some more moisture and stuff in there. So I'd say go a little bit crunchier, so that way when you're all done, you'll still have some crisp on them potatoes. I'm trying not to stir them too much. You kind of want to let them sit so they can actually brown. Plus, with the smaller potatoes like this, if you just go crazy stirring them up, you'll start like breaking them down and they'll turn to mush. But I'm a little bit nervous just because of cooking on a gas burner like this. But again, it seems like it's doing pretty well right now. All right, now that I'm getting a little more comfortable with the stove, I think I'll turn it up just a little bit. Starting to look pretty good right here. We're getting a little bit of nice brown on there. Now that I've kind of cranked the heat up a little bit, like I said earlier, these potatoes were still kind of like half frozen. So I started kind of slow to see how fast they were going to cook, because you want to make sure they get kind of cooked all the way through before you get a brown. Otherwise, they're going to be like mushy on the inside and burn on the outside. All right, so we're getting pretty good right now. So what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and slide that over a little bit. And let's go ahead and drop in our turkey sausage. Now, if I was using pork sausage, probably what I would have done, and I even thought about doing with this, would be to like cook the sausage first and then set it aside and then add it in. That way I could kind of drain some of the fat off. A turkey sausage isn't too fatty, so I think we'll be all right. Just keep in mind, if you are doing raw meat, you know, especially pork, but poultry too, and when you're like cooking it mixed with potatoes like this, you want to make sure it gets cooked real good so that, you know, you don't got bacteria all up in your taters. Which is kind of why I'm pushing it over to one side right now, so I can make sure it kind of cooks all the way. You know, so that way I don't mix it all in and then the sausage ain't cooked all the way, but I'm worried about the potatoes burning. You get what I'm saying. Just kind of check on these, make sure they ain't burning. Now, I personally like my sausage to be broken up kind of fine when I'm doing this. You could leave it as like big chunks if you wanted to, or if you were wanting to go even simpler, you could, you know, throw some sausage in there, like some of those breakfast sausage links, something like that. Just cut them into chunks and toss it in there, and that'll work too, and that's pretty good. I just think doing it like this, you get a little better, a little bit of flavor off the ground stuff. Go ahead and just add a little bit more pepper to this. Not going to go too crazy on the salt. Add a little salt to potatoes, and the sausage is going to add some saltiness to it too. But it's working pretty good, keeping them pulled to one side or the other, because I'm able to get a brown on this sausage, which is what I'm really going for, and be able to let these potatoes brown up a little more too before we mix everything together. Alright folks, so we are looking pretty darn good. I think we're about where we want to be, and that worked out pretty good. I think I made the right call. The turkey sausage, again, doesn't have too much fat to it, so you can see it didn't really add a lot of oil to the pan. If I was using ground pork sausage, I think it would have added a lot. So either I would have want to maybe skip the olive oil or went really light on it, or cooked it separate and drained it like I was saying. But let's go ahead and just mix this all together. Alright guys, so we are getting super close right now. I'm just giving it a couple more minutes here for everything to kind of crisp up a little bit, brown up a little bit, and for the flavor from that sausage, that oil, to kind of cook out a little bit and kind of get absorbed into the potatoes. I think what I'm going to do here is add just a little bit more olive oil because it's looking a little dry. All right, here comes the fun part. We're gonna add our eggs. Getting kind of risky here. If I drop any shells in here, I might just have to eat them. That pan seems a little bit hot, but this is nothing fancy right here. All I'm gonna do is just break that egg up and just mix it in. Let's go ahead and get that other egg in here. Now, my wife, Melissa, always tells me I'm a bad judge when it comes to portions. I always have, you know, eyes that are bigger than my stomach. End up getting more food than what I need. But I feel like I did pretty good on this one, on this recipe. Especially if you're out in the woods, you're doing a long hike, you know, you're burning some carbs and everything. It's gonna give you carbs, it's gonna give you protein, all that good stuff. Now this last part is really just going to depend on whether you like your eggs kind of wet or whether you like them dry. Now we're almost done here, so I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning up a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but I hate like having to clean up after I get done eating and everything. So And nobody wants to like wait to eat to clean up, right? So I like to kind of start packing up as I get done, you know, with the different ingredients, so that by the time it's cooked, I'm ready to eat and I don't got stuff to worry about after the fact, other than maybe cleaning my pan out and my bowl and stuff. Man, oh man, look at that. Look at that. All right, guys, so this is good and cooked. Now what we're gonna do, before we remove it from the heat, I'm just kind of spreading everything out. We're gonna throw some cheese on there. Now, obviously, depending on what kind of trip you're doing, bringing cheese may not always be practical. But if you're just camping, why not? And I love cheese. So I'm just kind of spreading that out on the top. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and just remove this from the heat. And that way, the pan will kind of cool on its own. And we'll just let that kind of create a nice cheesy layer on there. Whoops. I started to set that pan on that table because it was metal, but then I realized it's got some kind of a coating on there, so don't want that melt into our pan. So let's just put something underneath there. I thought about doing coffee, but figured I'd do something a little bit different today. Make myself some tea. We're gonna do some green tea. Now, I don't drink it as much as I used to, but it's a good alternative to coffee as far as if you're just needing something to wake you up in the morning, but you don't want all the fat and everything, sugar that goes along with what you put into coffee. The way this burner is built, guys, it actually works really good for a cup like this too. This is just one of those, I forget whatever brand, you see them at Walmart, little camp cups. We're getting closer. This thing is taking a little bit longer than I would have hoped to boil this water. Maybe I'm just being impatient, but I'm boiling a lot more water than I really am gonna need, just because I kind of, you know, I'm curious with this new stove. Plus, it is a little bit windy out here, and I'm not sure. We might be starting to get a low on gas in that bottle, maybe. All right, guys, we're looking pretty good. Yep, we definitely got a boil going now. Go ahead and turn that down before it boils over. We're not trying to like sanitize this water right now. This is water I brought with me, so it's safe. We're just getting it hot enough that we can brew some tea. So I think what I'm gonna do, because I'm not gonna want to drink out of this big old cup, and I like this tea to be a little bit strong, so I'm gonna go ahead and just drop 2 tea bags in there. Let that steep a little bit. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and unhook this stove, so I'm not just leaving it unhooked up unsupervised. Before we eat, I'll just show you guys real quick. Again, this stove, really easy to pack back up too. The legs or the arms, whatever you want to call them, you just fold them in. The little legs fold up. And then you've got your little lightweight plastic case. That's all there is to it. All right, so now that our tea has a little bit of time to steep, smells pretty good. All right, guys, we're nice and comfortable now. We got our skillet breakfast. Who needs a bowl, right? It's just me. Eat it straight out of the pan, as long as your mixture of the pan's cool first. And I didn't forget the sriracha either. You just save that to add to taste. Now, by the way, I don't recommend, you know, like eating out of your tent if you're camping somewhere, you know, where bears or other kind of animals would be a concern. I don't got anything to worry about right here, but that's just something to keep in mind so you don't get that scent. But I'm still gonna be careful not to drop food and stuff in my tent, just, you know, so that scent's not in there. But we got our sriracha. Look at that, it's awesome. That's bananas. Man. And the trick is you just put that cheese on there, like I said, and take it off the heat and let it sit. And it kind of makes, talking with my mouth full, it makes like a cheesy crust. Just look at that. As you guys saw, this is something that's super easy to make. It's also not expensive. It would work good for day hikes or even a multi-day hike if you were able to bring some kind of a cooler bag with you. It's inexpensive, doesn't require a bunch of, you know, cooking skills. And as far as for when you're out in the woods, out on the trail, I mean, you've got potatoes, which is loaded full of starch. Of course, you've got some sodium in there that you need. Some more sodium and some protein from the sausage. Even got a little bit of dairy in there with the cheese. And of course, the eggs too. I mean, that's really awesome natural energy. All right, guys, let's try some of this tea. It's good stuff too. Always good to have a warm drink when it's a little chilly outside. And by the way, you haven't truly lived until you've drank out of a wooden cup. I was a little skeptical at first myself too, but it's a whole different experience. By the way, it's a side note, I really like this pan too. I just picked this up. I think this was like, I paid $20 for it from GSI. They're folding skillet. I think the Bugaboo is what they call it. Something like that. But it's really nice. Sturdy handle. Rubber coated there. And like the bottom, I don't see any kind of discoloration or anything from using that burner, which is good. It's fairly lightweight. Sturdy little pan. I was a little skeptical of using, you know, non-stick out in the woods, just in general, because if you overdo it with the heat, you can scorch it. But I mean, it looks like it did just fine today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was something new for our channel, but I think it's a really big part of the outdoors. And for me, you know, that's one of the things I love about the outdoors. It's just simple days like this, going out with a nice little cook setup, making up a simple meal, and just being out here in the quiet. You know, nothing but the sound of your own voice if you're making a video. But other than that, just the sound of the wind, the sound of the food sizzling in the pan. So the plan is to keep doing a bunch more videos like this for you guys. Some of them are going to be just real simple, easy meals like this that you can do for a single person or a group. Some of them are going to be a little bit fancier, you know, a little bit more kind of gourmet cooking that you can do while you're outside. And then some of it's going to be just really kind of family oriented, making like big outdoor breakfasts while you're camping, all that good stuff. Now, if you've got any questions about this recipe or any of the gear that I used in this video, I'll have links and more information in the description below. And if you've got any questions, or maybe you've got comments, maybe you've got like a similar recipe that you like to do, but you've got your own twist to it, we'd love to hear about that too. So make sure that you comment below. Now folks, I've got a little bit of breakfast to finish up here and a little bit of cleanup to do, so I better get going. But until next time, stay happy, stay outdoors.